Hello, good evening. Welcome to our Facebook live stream. We've got a very exciting Q&A for you tonight, coming to you live from the Oxnard Police Department in beautiful downtown Oxnard. My name is Paul Carganilla. I'm the Community Affairs Manager for the Oxnard Police Department. And our guest this week, I'm so excited to introduce, so glad he agreed to be on the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to introduce Assistant Chief Eric Sonstegard. Thank you so much for joining us.
You got it, Paul, and you don't have to fake it. You're not that excited.
I'm so excited. I mean, like you are the cream of the crop, and
we'll see about that.
Agreed to come and interact with us live here on Facebook. And if you are watching us at home, thank you so much for tuning in. We are live now through 6 p.m. And anytime between now and then, please feel free to enter any questions that you have in the comment thread on this video. And we're going to spend the first few minutes or so getting to know the Assistant Chief here. But before the end of the show, we'll try and get to any questions that you may have that present themselves live in this stream here before the end of the show. And hopefully this will be educational, informative, but also fun and entertaining. So what I like to do here, Chief, is at the beginning of the show, I like to reel it all the way back to childhood, back to your very first memories of wanting to be something when you grew up. And for you, what was that?
Wow. Well, I'm going to start you off with a curveball. So, okay. I'm born and raised in Ventura County. I've lived within 5 miles of the hospital that I was born in for 50 years. So a very, homebody. I never moved anywhere, went to high school, and then went to college at Cal Lutheran in Thousand Oaks. So just been in this area my entire life. But growing up and entering college, I entered college as a pre-seminary student. I was going to be a Lutheran pastor.
Wow.
Yeah. People are often surprised to hear that. And they kind of say, man, how did you end up? It's like you made a huge left turn. And my freshman year in college, I needed an elective, and I took a class called the Introduction to Administration of Justice, and something just clicked with me, and off I went. Now, I do like to tell people that as diverse as those two occupations sound, they're actually not as different as people might originally think. They're both centered in public service, and both centered in helping people, and both centered in leadership. And so, I was going to be a Lutheran pastor, and here I am 30 years later as a police officer.
Wow. So what was your first job out of college?
My first, I graduated from college in May. I got married in August, and in September, I entered the police academy, and I went to work for the Los Angeles Unified School District Police Department, one of the largest school district police departments in the country, and went to the police academy and graduated, and I went straight to Roosevelt High School in East Los Angeles, California. So it was quite a culture shock for somebody who had spent almost their entire life in Thousand Oaks, California. Got to go work in Boyle Heights in East LA. It was a tremendous experience. I loved working there, and I loved all the people that I met.
Wow. So I have to ask, so you got married right out of college. Where and when did you meet your wife?
Was that is this like a loaded question? Yeah, I'm one of those guys. My wife and I met when we were very young in junior high school. And we've been together ever since, never a day apart. We went to college together. I'm letting out all the dirty family secrets.
No, that's awesome.
She turned 20 on Wednesday, and I married her on a Saturday, just so I wouldn't marry a teenager. So, but we like I said, we've been together for, going on 33 years.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Junior high, huh? We had Commander Amon on when he had just been promoted to commander, and we learned that he met his wife in high school.
Yeah.
So you got him beat.
I do. Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. So you started out in the school district police department, and that's different than LAPD, right?
It is. It's the LA school district has their own police department. patrol all of their schools throughout Los Angeles County, as well as a lot of educational buildings and all that. At the time, it was like the fourth or fifth largest police department in Los Angeles County. They have about 400 police officers right now. It's a pretty big agency.
Right. And so when did the next switch happen professionally?
Yeah, I always wanted to come back to Ventura County. I used to take the train to work. It was made for some long days. I took the Metrolink down into downtown LA, and then I walked to the police station. So always wanted to come back to Ventura County. I don't like to tell too many people this, but I worked for the Ventura County Sheriff's Department all through college, and it was my dream to be a deputy sheriff. And I went through the hiring process, and they didn't hire me. And so I was also going through the process with Oxnard PD, and they did. And I guess the rest is history. It was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Wow, that is awesome. So what year was that, if I might ask?
That was 1996. I came to Oxnard. Odd story I like to tell. I had an interview with the chief of police here. That's really the final thing during a hiring process. You just sit down with the chief, and then they decide whether to hire you or not. And I came for my interview at 8 a.m. on March 13th, 1996. And that was the day that Officer Jim Jensen was killed here in the city of Oxnard. So I showed up for my interview. The lobby of the police department was filled with flowers, and it seemed like something was off. Everybody was kind of like scattering around, and they basically told me that my interview wasn't going to happen and come back another time. So that was kind of my introduction to Oxnard PD, and then I got hired a month later.
Wow. And I can't wait to just dive into your career here in Oxnard, but I want to remind our viewers at home, thank you so much for tuning in. It looks like we're in 51 households right now. And if you're watching and you want to, if you have any questions for Assistant Chief Sonstegard about either his career or the police department, or any questions that you might have, we're kind of doing these Q&As every week because we're used to being out in the neighborhoods at the neighborhood council meetings and answering any questions that our community has. But we've found a way to do it here on Zoom. And so we like to keep in touch with you guys, find out what's going on, what's on your mind. And again, if you've got anything on your mind you want to ask the assistant chief here, please feel free to enter it in the comments, and we will get to it by the end of the show. Did I cut you off?
Two of those households are probably my mom and my dad, so I don't know if that counts or not, but that's okay. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Yeah, and you did not tell me not to take their questions tonight.
Yeah.
So that's fine. So I imagine, so that was 96. If my math is correct, it's been 24 years. And how long were you in patrol assignments before you began to do the promotion?
Yeah, I came and started in patrol, and very quickly, and had always, as long as I'd been a police officer, wanted to be a canine handler. So I kind of set that as my initial goal. And in late 1998, I got selected as a canine handler. So went to canine school, and a couple of crazy stories with that. The guy I went to canine school with in 1998 is still a canine handler. I have no idea how that's even like humanly possible 22 years later, but he is. And one of my best friends, and became a canine handler. Greatest job you could ever have. I would work Friday and Saturday nights, and I remember getting my dog into my car in my garage on a Friday night, and I would think to myself, I can't believe they're going to pay me to go do this job. That's how much I love the job. So, those were great times. I loved being a canine handler.
And how long did you do that for?
I did that for about 3 years. And then I ended up getting promoted, and I became what we call a beat coordinator. They're called district coordinators, but little, mini police chiefs of a particular area in a city, and I was assigned to Beat 32, which is South Oxnard, Boulevard, Lemonwood, Calgeisler area, and I did that for a year. That's where I liked to work when I was in patrol as well. So I always liked to work South Oxnard, and so I really enjoyed that assignment.
Were you ever an FTO, a training officer?
I was. I was before I became a canine handler. I became an FTO pretty early.
Oh,
Still have
wow.
one person here that I trained, Phil Flores. He's one of our motor officers. He's the last guy here at the department that I trained. So, um,
And we love seeing Phil on the checkpoint
oh
videos
yeah,
on
oh
the
yeah. I
Facebook
love Phil.
page. Um, did you, as you were going through, I find myself doing this like whenever I'm learning something, and I think to myself, if I ever become like a mentor or a teacher of this at any point, like this is something I'm really going to instill in people. While you were trained, it seems like you went pretty quickly from training to being a trainer. Did you pick up anything early on when you were in training that you made sure that you instilled in your trainees?
Yeah, I had a really great opportunity when I came to Oxnard where my set of FTOs, I had 5 FTOs, and they were an extremely experienced bunch. They were sometimes you get young FTOs and sometimes you get like veteran ones, and you can learn from everyone. But I just happened to have 5 FTOs that were experienced, knowledgeable, intelligent, patient. One of them happens to be an assistant chief here at Oxnard PD, and so I just had a great opportunity to learn from all 5 of them. So that really helped me.
Wow. And so you were a district coordinator, and I believe that they all have to be the senior officers, right?
They did at that time, and they do now. We have had some opportunities for PO2s to be B coordinators, but yeah, at the time they were all senior officers.
And then did you, how many years into your career did you become a sergeant?
I became a sergeant 6 years after I transferred here to Oxnard, and that was 2002. And I loved being a patrol sergeant. I worked nights, morning shifts on the weekends. Um, I Most of my memories were myself and Paul Cumming working as sergeants with council member Brian McDonald as our night watch commander. So it was kind of the 3 of us holding down the city. So it was pretty fun.
Wow, that's so neat. And then the next step is commander. How many years were you sergeant before you took that next step?
So I was a patrol sergeant for about 2 years, and then I had an opportunity to go run our Safe Streets Task Force. It's a federal gang task force. So I had the opportunity to do that for 3 years, and that was a great opportunity. Learned a lot, did a lot of great investigations. Took me, on surveillances down to the U.S.-Mexico border, up to Bakersfield, Wasco, all over state of California. So great opportunities, do some really cool stuff. And then after the gang task force came up and was the department's training sergeant for a year, which was a quite a shift from running a gang task force. Gang task force doing a lot of fun, cool stuff, and then I was creating Excel spreadsheets as a training sergeant. So that's basically what I did.
Sometimes being a sergeant puts you behind a desk, and then you just miss
Yeah.
being out on the street. I
Yep.
totally get that. And so did you become a commander at that point?
I did. After I was the training sergeant for a year, I got promoted to the rank of commander, and I immediately took over our professional standards division, and I was there for almost 5 years. And that was the department was going through a transition, a lot of stuff going on in the mid 2000s. So I had the opportunity to lead a lot of that change of what was going on in the department. So being in professional standards, you learn a lot. You learn about a lot about the ins and outs of the department, and so what I learned in that assignment was extremely valuable.
Wow. And so how long were you commander for before the next step?
So from professional standards, I went to special operations. I was the special operations commander for 3 years, which oversees SWAT, canine, firearms, defensive tactics, hostage rescue, hostage negotiations. And then I left special operations and came in was the investigative commander. I was the investigations commander for about only about 6 months, and then I had the opportunity. There was a need for an interim assistant police chief under under former police chief Jerry Williams. So I filled that role as an interim assistant police chief for a year, and then I was promoted to assistant chief. So all in all, I was a commander for about eight or 9 years before I got promoted to assistant chief.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. So what are some of the highlights you can think of your career here? What are your favorite assignments or moments?
Yeah, there's your career can oftentimes get broken up into a couple of different things. So there's fun things. I mean, hey, everyone likes to like chase after people, that type of stuff. The dog, I had the opportunity to go to a bunch of canine competitions and win a lot of awards. That stuff's great. But there are some, there are like moments in your career that are probably a little more subtle and, not so like fun, but just things you remember, whether it's people you meet or the impact you have on somebody out on a particular call, and they see you a year later and they say, "Oh, I thank you so much for what you did." And I had an instance. There was some type of community event at Heritage Square in downtown Oxnard, and I had an opportunity to go there and represent the police department and be a judge in some type of event. And it was right around 2016 when the immigration kind of debate was really ramping up, both in our community across our country. And I remember as I was leaving the event, I was walking out, and there were a couple of young men that were involved with My Cop, the local indigenous population kind of advocacy group, and they wanted to take their picture with me. And so they called me back, and they were so excited. They got their phones out, and they were so excited to take a picture with me in uniform. And it, like, for some reason, that's something I never forgot. It was the fact that while the narrative, both in the community and the nation, was that like the police were the enemy, here were some people that realized that we weren't the enemy, and that they wanted to take their picture with me. And it's little things like that I remember throughout my career.
That's amazing. And as we transition into our answering the questions portion of the half hour here, a good little transition is Maricela Chavez says she wants to thank you for the help you provided back in 2009 on a situation she had. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that kind of leads right into exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Getting to the questions here. If you are watching at home on Facebook and you have any questions about anything that the police department's doing, anything going on in your community that you would like to ask Assistant Chief Sonstegard here, go ahead and put it in the comment thread on the video, and we will get to as many as we can before 6 o'clock here. Natalie presents a question. I don't know if it's something you can speak to as like a previous patrol commander, but like, so right now she's not seeing many police, about a big police presence on the street. So she's wondering if there's anything she needs to worry about right now. But what can you say to, like, sometimes maybe we see more police than others on patrol?
Yeah. So a couple of things on that. So there is no diminished deployment or presence on the streets right now. A lot of times our priorities shifts. We may at a particular time maybe focusing on traffic, or maybe we're focusing on stolen vehicles, or there's a heavy call volume, so our officers are tied up on calls. To be extremely candid, 2020 has just been a chaotic year for us. Began with the tragic loss of one of our officers, Nathan Martin, in January. And we really have been in crisis mode almost ever since, particularly with COVID. And COVID undoubtedly has impacted how we do business. And so, part of what she may be seeing is that, our officers are, not necessarily doing as much kind of self-initiated activity, for the sole reason that as COVID came upon us, we were trying to do everything we could to like protect our workforce. And we wanted to reduce the number of unnecessary contacts our officers had with people. And so we didn't know a lot about this virus, and we were concerned that if it like swept through our department, we would not even have like enough officers to field to go out in the field. So that could be something that they've seen in 2020. We're hoping that we're moving in the right direction and we can get back to regular business in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, it's been a year. It's been an adventure.
Yeah.
Joey is testing through our hiring process next month. Any words of advice for someone testing
if Joey has been out there or will be out there, there's a good chance he'll see me and I'll come out and give him a pep talk. I like to come out to all the testings and talk to the new applicants. And what I tell our new applicants is that they're really not competing against the people that are sitting in that room with them. This isn't so much a competition. They're really competing against themselves. And the competition comes with, are you able to basically follow the directions that we give you? Are you able to turn in your paperwork? Are you able to complete it on time? Are you able to meet all the deadlines that we ask of you? And if you're able to do that and you do it successfully, I almost promise that at the end of the process, there's going to be a job waiting for you. We have not been in a situation, COVID notwithstanding, we have not been in a situation for several years where we got to the end of a process and we had, let's say, 15 candidates we wanted to hire and we only had 10 vacancies. We've been the opposite for several years. And so what I tell the people that are testing is, do what's asked of you, fill everything out completely, meet those deadlines, and at the end of the road, there's going to be a job waiting for you.
Do what needs to get done.
Yeah.
That's some pretty sound advice.
It seems like it would be like simple, but I managed hiring for 6 years, and it's amazing how people can't meet deadlines and can't fill paperwork out correctly. So if you do that, you're going to be ahead of the game.
How long does the hiring process take generally?
Yeah, it's very lengthy. It can be 8 to 10 months depending on when you test. I mean, we're testing right now for an April Academy in 2021.
Yeah.
And you have a written test, you have a physical agility test, you have an initial kind of personal history statement, you go through a couple of interviews in the department, you go through an exhaustive background investigation. Once that's completed, you'll have an interview with the 3 chiefs of police, and they will make a determination about whether you're going to move forward. You have a comprehensive medical examination, a psychological examination. So it's very tough. And again, to be candid, I have heard over the last couple of months kind of a narrative floating around for kind of opponents of the police that we need to make it a lot more difficult to get hired. And that's just simply, that's misinformed. It's extremely, extremely difficult to get hired as a police officer. Yeah. So, but I just tell the people, if it's what you want to do, you'll get it done.
Very good. Belle wants to know what happened to the bicycle patrol. She hasn't seen any in many, many years. Do we still have a bicycle?
We do. We do have a bicycle team, and we put them out there when we can. We put out bikes down in the Southwinds area and the Central Business District. The bikes basically come down to a resource thing. I do need officers available to answer 911 calls. So if we ever get to the point where we can get our hiring up to speed, bikes are a tremendously effective way to engage with your community. Another place we have them are out at the beaches. The last couple months, we've had bike patrols out at the beach, and not on the beach, obviously. Very difficult to ride a bike on the beach. But we'd like to do more of that. And again, it's such an effective way for our officers to contact people. They're out in the open. They're not behind windows in their cars. They can say hello. They can interact with people. So I'm with you, Belle. I'd like to see more of that as well.
I've seen you out on foot at the beaches in recent months.
Yes. Yeah.
Janelle asks, how are we addressing street racing?
Yeah, street racing, and you may have seen some information in the social media and the newspapers in the last week. A very serious problem, and probably one that doesn't get enough attention. And all you have to do is Google the tragedies that have happened in Southern California over the last couple of years. One of the things we're doing right now is we have basically teamed with the California Highway Patrol. CHP has a lot of resources and in particular a lot of expertise in dealing with street racing operations. So we just did one last Thursday night, and we're going to probably continue to do it on a weekly basis. Oxnard, for whatever reason, seems to be kind of a hotbed of that activity. In some perfect world, there would be some alternative. I've seen people offer up, why don't we do this with the airport, or offer, open up a track or something like that. It's kind of beyond our ability to do that. But the bottom line is it can be dangerous, and a lot of young people lose their life because of that. And the one thing I'll say about street racing is a lot of times it's not even the people that are doing the street racing, it's the spectators. That's what I really worry about, is the people that just stand so darn close to the road and somebody loses control of their car, and that's when tragedies occur. So we're gonna keep on it, and we have a lot of traffic unit resources available to address it.
Very good. We have about 4 minutes left and 4 questions left to get to, so we'll see if we can get through.
I can go overtime. We can go overtime.
Okay. What is are there any new developments with the issue of homelessness recently? I know with the formation of our new homeless liaison unit, and the officers that are out there just specifically addressing that since, what was it, the end of last year?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Peggy's asking, what's new?
Yeah. So, and COVID has had a major impact on our ability to address some of those issues. And I can speak from the police department's perspective, but I'm always the first to point out that homelessness is not a policing issue, nor is being homeless, illegal in any manner. And so we do have a homeless liaison unit that works closely with a bunch of service providers and our housing department here in Oxnard. And we're out there doing our best to address some of the illegal activity and the vagrancy type activity. But until there is sufficient housing and until there are sufficient county and state services available for some of these individuals, it ends up just being kind of a revolving door where we go out and we move them from one place and they go to somewhere else. So the police department has committed a lot of resources to that, but it's something that other government agencies need to commit resources as well.
Moni is asking, what do we have any plans to deal with the inmates being released now due to the governor's new order?
Yeah, so we actually participated in a call earlier this morning on that exact topic, and we are aware of some additional releases that are going to take place. And we always get informed of those people. We're aware of who they are. There's always the hope that those individuals are probably the least impactful offenders that they're letting out of these facilities. But we understand that when individuals come back from being incarcerated, they oftentimes don't have the resources, whether it's housing or jobs or mental health or addiction services. So we're aware of that. We try to get them connected with different service providers. But it's a challenge. There's no doubt it's a challenge. There are individuals that are in our community that probably need to be in these facilities, and they're getting left out. So it's just something we're going to have to deal with.
Len Newcomb is watching. He says he
Hi, Len.
Start the bike patrol in '93.
Oh yeah.
He says he's a retiree, and he's got a family member who was a recently hired police officer. And I think I understand his question as being with all the issues with the city's budget and budget cuts. Do any of our police officers, are any of them in danger of being discharged due to the city budget, as far as you know?
Yeah, no, I do not see that happening. As we sit here today, we actually have 20 police officer positions that are vacant right now. And so it's a far cry from any police officers losing their jobs or being laid off. And in fact, I don't recall any police officers losing their jobs because of budget cuts in my career here at Oxnard. Part of that is because we're always behind on hiring. And so what ends up happening is they just trim our vacant positions. So no, Len, and I know Len, he was a former Oxnard police officer, and your family member is not in danger of losing their job at all.
All right, and it looks like the last question on the feed here is.
It's not from my mom, is it?
No, it's from James. Right. But your parents did say hello. I just said so. Just so you know, they are watching. They did say hi. James wanted to know. He says he hasn't seen a lot of news on major violent crimes happening in a while. Other cities in the county and the country are struggling in that department. What are your thoughts on that?
So I have a lot of pride and confidence in a variety of the things we do here at Oxnard Police Department, one of which is we have a very active special enforcement unit and violent crimes unit who focus on the people that need to be focused on. And they focus on chronic offenders. They focus on those individuals that are making the decisions about violent crimes in Oxnard. And so if you take those people out of the equation, your violent crime is going to stay down. We're in the midst of our 5th consecutive year of a reduction in violent crime. As far as what's happening in other cities, Oxnard is a unique city. We're not a big city, but we're not a small city. So we don't generally fit in real well with the narrative of in any other city. So we're a big city when it compares to the others in Ventura County, but in whether it's Los Angeles or San Diego or San Francisco, we just don't have the problems that they do. So I attribute it to the work that our officers are doing out in the field, coupled with all the community engagement and neighborhood problem solving efforts that we do, where we try to see problems before they become big problems and deal with them that way.
All right. Very well answered. All of them. I got a few rapid fire for you before we go.
Let's do it, man.
First concert you ever attended, what band?
Boston.
3 of your top 5 favorite movies?
A Few Good Men, Crimson Tide, and The Contender. The Contender is the best movie you've never seen.
Not On the Waterfront. The Contender.
No, it's Joan Allen as a female vice president nominee.
Yes.
Very pertinent to these times.
Yes. And favorite meal ever?
Favorite meal ever? My wife's chicken enchiladas.
Good answer. First car?
A 78 orange Volkswagen Rabbit diesel.
Where'd you get it from?
My dad. I bought it off my dad.
That's awesome. And last but not least, favorite song?
My favorite song
right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
I Don't Want to Live Without You by Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani.
Boom. There it is. Thank you so much, Assistant Chief Sonstegard, for all of the good time, the information, and just sharing your career and your service with us.
You got it, man. Take care.
Have a great night. Thank you, everybody, for watching at home. We'll see you next week with another guest and another employee from the Oxnard Police Department here on Facebook with a live Q&A. Have a great Wednesday night. We'll see you next week.